Hello, hi everybody. Thanks for joining this webinar. My name is Bertrand Gacon. I'm the director of the Certificate of Advanced Studies in SDG Investing here at the Graduate Institute in Geneva. The purpose of the webinar today is really to give you an overview of that program and being able to cover both the not just the focus of the program, but the entire objectives, the teaching method and speakers, the way we have decided to structure the program and the format. We also give you an overview of the assessment. So, you know, the homework that we'll have to do to actually succeed in getting that certification. And we'll keep some time at the end of that presentation for a short Q&A and trying to address all of the questions you might have regarding that program. Well, the main focus of this SDG Investing Certificate of Advanced Studies is really financing the SDGs or SDG Investing. We know that those 17 goals that have been defined by the United Nations will require to get anything between $5 to $7 trillion of investment every single year until 2030. So that's, of course, a very significant amount of money. And there will not be just one route to get there. We will have to really to manage to do two things at one time. The first one really is about resource mobilization. And what will be needed there is to bring more finance to the SDGs. And this is a lot to do with what we call impact investing. So really being able to support and finance those projects, those companies whose core mission is to actually solve one or several of those SDGs. The second part is really about trying to bring more SDGs into finance, and that really has to do with mainstreaming of SDGs into the conventional finance. And that is more a question of actually resource allocation, is what do we do with the trillions of dollars that are being invested today in the mainstream financial markets to make sure that they go where you know, they go and finance those companies, those business models that are really getting us in the right direction and contributing to achieve the SDGs. And that is more about sustainable investing, ESG integration, and many of the more mainstream action that are taking place today in the financial industry. Both will be needed to get there, and both are really at the heart of the program. Actually, we even have decided to design the entire program so that the first week will be more around the first part, which is bringing more finance to the SDGs, and so more related to impact investing. And the second week of the program will be more about bringing more SDGs into finance. So there we will go into more traditional ways of integrating environmental and social dimension into traditional investment making decision process. Of course, some of the subtopics within those 2 weeks will be common, at least, I mean, in terms of the dimension they would like to address, but each of them will be taken through a very specific angle. So we will be looking at the overall ecosystem, who does what, and we will see that there's a very rich ecosystem, and Geneva is one of the places to be, and where there is a high concentration of many players around SDG investing, both international organization, but also a financial sector, which is quite developed here in Geneva, and as well as many other both public and private organizations that need to work together if we were to achieve those SDGs by 2030. We will also look at impact measurement tools, and I will come back to that in a minute in the following slide. And here again, we will split it with the types of tools and programs and methodologies that have been specifically designed when it comes to bringing more finance to the SDGs, and also the other types of instruments and tools that have been designed more specifically to measure the dimension of SDGs into mainstream finance. And the same goes for regulatory framework or for financial instruments that have been designed. You will see that although they have the same final objective, of course, because they are applied in different contexts, then those instruments, those regulatory frameworks, and those impact measurement tools might differ quite significantly depending on whether you're using them in the impact investing space or in the sustainable investing space. All of that will be found in the program, and the way we organize the teaching is really split around those 2 modules, those 2 weeks. including the site visits and the assignments. Everything will be following the same structure. Now, what is it that you're going to learn if you decide to join us and apply to that program? Well, the first of all is, of course, to have a better look at these famous SDG initiatives. So how are the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, being implemented today on a wide range of projects, both in terms of, I would say, non-government or public organizations, but also what it means for private sector organizations to actually integrate SDGs and make that a high priority in their agenda. So we will have the chance to have different speakers coming from those various organizations to explain very concretely how they go about that and what it means to their own business and organization. We will also develop expert knowledge around SDG investing method and tools. So not the type that will actually let you directly manage an SDG investment portfolio. We will go to some level of knowledge, but at least expert knowledge in terms of integrating this into the daily investment business, I would say. You will also learn how to design an innovative investment instrument. There will be a specific workshop around that to help you going through a design thinking module. And it will also be part of the assignment. One of the major assignments you will have to actually produce as part of the grading for that certificate is really to design an innovative investment instrument for one of the SDGs. You can pick the one that you like. We will also go into the more mainstream part. So the first one is really related to the bring more finance to the SDGs. You will also have another assignment, and we will go into more details into that when it goes to bringing more SDGs into a conventional portfolio. And of course, the idea with that whole session is to help you building a network of SDG investing practitioners, not only the teachers and speakers that will come and talk to you during those sessions, the people you will meet during site visits, but also the participants themselves. It's also, I mean, the program is also designed to bring specific profiles, to have this kind of diversity that we need to see around the table between people coming from the private sector, the financial industry, the international organization, the UN-related agencies, the regulators and policymakers. All of them will be also part of the program as participants, and that is very important part of the teaching, as you will see and discover in the next few slides. Now, the major subject you will be covering, of course, has to do with SDGs, and we will go into more details to understand those 17 SDGs and more specifically understand how they are financed today, how much of those $5 to $7 trillion are already available, what is missing, where are the gaps, what are the areas that are overfinanced versus the ones that are underfinanced, and how all of that is actually being organized today. And this is where we move to the ecosystem, understanding who are the main players, who does what, so that you have a better understanding of not just each of the players taken individually, but how the broader ecosystem actually works together and what is missing there as well. And particularly when it comes to better articulating the contributions of the private and public players. We know that there is no chance we will get there if only the private or only the public sectors do their own jobs on their sides. We will need to make sure we significantly increase the way we collaborate to maximize our chances of success. So we will also cover those topics and try to understand what works well, what doesn't work so well, and what is needed for that to be working better. Some part of the program definitely will go also into financial instruments. Again, this is about SDG investing. So of course, investment is a part of that program. As you will know, we do not require to have very advanced financial skills to attend the program. We will propose a financial bootcamp for those of you who would like just to make sure they have the minimal skills required to attend, but you will still get to know, what financial instruments are available today in the various asset classes. And as you will see, as always, there will be different instruments, whether you talk about bringing more finance to the SDGs, so impact investing, or bringing more SDGs into finance. So in that case, it would be more conventional instruments, but still geared toward more SDGs and more finance to the SDGs. A section will be also dedicated to the regulatory environment. You might know that this is changing at a very high pace today. So it's very important to understand where are the regulators today and what is coming in the next few years. And there is a, particularly in the European Union, a strong willingness to actually strengthen the framework and give more clear guidelines to all the players about what is expected and how to make sure the financial industry in particular plays a more active role into financing the SDGs. And last but not least, a very important part of the training would be dedicated to impact measurement, because you can have all the money in the world, resource mobilization might be as hard as you can imagine, but even if you succeed on that, you need to make sure that this money is being allocated to the right place so that it can really make a difference. And for that, impact measurement is, of course, very crucial. And we will see that this is an area where there's still more way to go, even though some standards, some tools, and some resources are already emerging, and we will teach you what are those tools and how to use them in the context of impact measurement. The teaching methods and speakers for this session are, I would say, quite usual. We will blend, in-depth analysis on some of the topics I've just mentioned and try to blend that with case studies. So it's a mix of theoretical and practical skills. You will have a lot of assignments to do and practical cases that will be reviewed during the class themselves, not just as a homework. We, of course, try to keep those classes as interactive as possible. You will see that part of the grading is based on your level of participation. We want to encourage that participation because we know that a lot of the learning also comes from exchanging with your fellow participants. We are making sure we have the right mix of people attending to that session, as I was already mentioning. They're all senior, have a large experience, so you will also get to learn a lot from your peers, as long as, of course, we make sure we organize that exchange of information. So it will definitely be interactive. As I mentioned, there will be a voluntary finance bootcamp for those of you that are not coming from the financial industry and might feel that they need to have a kind of introductory training around that. It will be free for any of you who would like to join. And of course, in terms of speakers, we will have the same mix of speakers coming from not only the academia, but also practitioners coming from both the public sector and private sector and legal environment, so that the whole array and diversity of speakers is being reflected both into the participants and into the speakers. This is really just to pick some of the speakers, just to illustrate the diversity that I've mentioned, some of the speakers that will be speaking during the classes. Some of them are coming from the financial industry, such as Ian Sim, who's the CEO of Impact, which is I would say, listed equity SDG investor based in London. I will have people like Nadia Isler, who's the director of the SDG Lab here in Geneva, who's coming from the United Nations related agencies. Some of the people will come from think tanks, such as the think tanks or other policy-making institutions, such as the OECD. Karen Wilson is actually the head of impact investing practice at the OECD, and she has regularly reports and publishes studies on the impact investing sector. We'll get some other people from the World Economic Forum, Stuart Cannisley, so Catherine Brown, who's also heading the impact investing practice there. Stuart Cannisley will tell us more about some specific instruments, such as the green bonds. He's the CEO of Affirmative Asset Management, and he will give you an entire review of not just the green bond market, but the use of proceeds bonds market. So really, yes, a good mix of very senior people, most of them being, either director or CEOs of their own institution or companies, and all of them having a long experience and a wealth of knowledge around SDG investing. The format of the program, as I was mentioning, this is redesigned for mid to senior level professionals, not just master students. We really want people to have this level of personal experience, so that they can bring also that to the class. We want to have that diversity in terms of sectors and background, as I was mentioning. This will be a degree granting program, so all successful participants will get a certificate on advanced studies, which is equivalent to 15 credits, academic credits. And as I already mentioned, it will be organized in 2 sessions of 8 days, all of that taking place at Villa Barton here in Geneva. The first session, so please make sure you save the date and pencil this in your agendas, in your diaries. The first session will happen from 11th to 20th of March next year, and the second session will happen the same date in May. During the sessions, all of the classes will take place from 9 a.m. to 5:45 p.m. Again, all of that will take place here at the Villa Barton in Geneva, except for the site visits. There will be 4 site visits organized, and we will be leveraging on the very rich Geneva ecosystem to be able to go and meet directly in their office the people that are making SDG investing happen on a daily basis. Would it be investors, portfolio managers, UN-related agencies, all of that that is needed to actually make sure this is happening on the ground. All the classes will take place during working days, so no classes on Saturdays and Sundays. I know that for some of you that might be somehow of a constraint because it means that you will need to take maybe more days out of your daily work. But we, from experience, it has proven sometimes to be difficult to get teachers and speakers, good teachers and speakers on the Saturdays and Sundays. And for that reason, we wanted to make sure all the classes will take place from Mondays to Fridays. And that will ensure a high level of quality and make sure we get the best speakers available for you guys during the session. Part of the training will be done around workshops, as I was mentioning. They're not directly workshops per se that are specific to the SDG investing world. They're more generic personal development module, but we'll still use them and apply them and develop them in the context of SDG investing. So the first one would be design thinking, and that's really a module you will definitely need to use and to develop personal skills. And you will need that for your specific assignment on designing a innovative SDG instrument, investment instrument. So this is where you will be able to kind of initiate those thoughts, bake your own program, start to think about where you want to go, what SDG you want to cover, and slightly engage into what is going to be your own personal assignments around designing an innovative instrument. The same thing applies to the second personal development module, which is around negotiation. Here again, it will be an interactive workshop, and this is where you will learn the skill that is needed to perform one of the other assignments, which is around gearing your portfolio toward SDGs. So taking a conventional investment portfolio and put yourself in the shoes of a client relationship manager. You have your client willing to change the way he or she invests, not willing to accept anything, not willing maybe to trade off all the performance, but you will need to negotiate with your client in order to make sure that his or her portfolio is really geared toward more SDGs without compromising on some other dimension. So this is also some of the skills you will be learning during the program. As I already mentioned, we also will be developing site visits. This is not only a good way and a good chance for you to meet the people that are making SDG investing happen on a daily basis, but it's actually a very, sometimes very interesting way of looking what actual operation look like. You know, what are people doing on a daily basis and how this is being organized. And it's, of course, an excellent way of broadening your network, because you will get to meet more people there and also better understand how is the human resources market, so the labor market being organized around SDG investing. Who does what? Who is recruiting? Who is not? What are the types of profiles that are being looking at in the industry? So really having a more, I would say, in the field experience around SDG investing. Now, that is the not so easy part, but of course, this is a demanding training. And if to get certified, you definitely need to succeed in those assignments. That's the way those assignments are going to be split. So the first one is really about developing a short analysis around the impact of one large company. So we would guide you around the methodology. 10% of the final grade will be around that. It's really a way for us to make sure you're able to develop a impact-driven analysis on the different social and environmental impact that companies have on the planet and society. And to do that, you will have to choose one company, choose one topic, and develop a short analysis. That will be more related to the second part of the program, which is about bringing more SDGs into mainstream finance. The second one is actually on the first part of the program. It's 20% of the final grade, and this is related to the design thinking module I've mentioned. This is where you will have to start thinking around which SDG you want to cover, and how you can employ these design thinking skills that you've just learned to start drafting a project around new instruments. You will be using that as an introduction for the fourth assignment, where you have 40% of the final grade, and that is really where you will have a more detailed personal project around one innovative solution that you will have to design. Of course, we will help you in the process, give you exactly guidance on how to do that. But the idea there is to design as realistic as possible instrument, where you go into the length of detailing how this instrument will be working, what specific issue you want that instrument to address, how do you think it will actually be able to mobilize capital, who are going to be the investors, what kind of returns, financial return that instrument is going to generate, what kind of impact that instrument is going to generate. So that is one of the most, I would say, most important parts in terms of learning curve of the program, where you can really put into one assignment a large part of the training that you have learned during the entire program. The third assignment I'm also mentioning there, it's for 20% of the final grade. It's really about more mainstream, and this would be when you will be using the negotiation workshop and trying to design starting from a very conventional investment portfolio and turn that into a more SDG driven portfolio by negotiating with your clients around how to do that and what kind of trade-offs you're ready or the client is ready to accept going there. Right, and the final 10% of the grading will be given, as I already said, to active participation, because we really want you to exchange with your peers and to participate into the program, because we know that this is an important part of the learning experience. Right, I think I've already talked a lot, so this is probably the time where I want you to be able to ask as many questions as you want. You will find more information on the website. If you want now to raise any questions, please use the Q&A module that you would find at the bottom of your screen. There's a short text bar there where you can type in any questions, both in terms of the content, the objectives, or the format of the program. I'm happy to answer that today. You can also go back to the website, which is now being displayed on the screen as I speak. This is where you have the specific page dedicated to this SDG Investing Certificate of Advanced Studies. We are also always available for further questions through email or telephone. As you are maybe typing your questions, just a few additional information regarding the application process. So you will find all of that again on the website. But make sure that if you're interested, you're not waiting for too long. We have already quite advanced in the selection process. We're welcoming all the types of candidates today, even though some specific types of profiles are already more crowded than others. So again, if you want to secure a seat, please make sure not to wait for the last minute before applying to that certificate. Yes, I think I've already covered quite a few topics. What did I miss? Some of the well, most frequent questions are around the level of financial literacy that is needed. Well, the correct answer is actually not much or not at all. As I was mentioning again, there is a financial bootcamp that we are organizing at the beginning of the session. So even if you don't come from the financial industry, you're still perfectly fine to apply. This also means, and this is something which is more addressed to some of you that might be coming from the financial industry, just as a just to be fully transparent. Of course, this is not a program where we will be going into in-depth into the technical skills of portfolio management, because this is not the right audience to do that. But you still be learning a lot around SDG investing into that certification. We have a question from Sanzar. Thank you, Sanzar, for your question around the deadline. The program, as you know, will start in March. As I mentioned, there is no immediate deadline, so we will still accept candidates. But again, the program is already starting to be, if not full, already quite well reserved. So make sure you don't wait too long before applying to the session, because we might not be able to give seats to all the participants. Well, we're even already sure that some of you will not be able to make it. A question from Michael, and I think I already kind of alluded to that questions. Yes, definitely, Michael, even though you're coming from the financial industry, just like me, actually, I've been working in the space for the last 20 years. This is definitely something where you will be learning a lot. Of course, this is, again, not a place where we'll be going into the details of techniques, financial techniques in terms of portfolio management, but there is still a lot more that you can learn about, impact analysis. How do you look at the impact of businesses? How do you choose a company versus another one based on impact criteria? What are the instruments that you have, at your hands when it comes to integrating that in a portfolio? So yeah, definitely, we will have a good mix of people coming from financial industry. Last year, we had about a third of the participants who were coming from the financial industry, including portfolio managers or financial analysts, and they all very much enjoy the training. Another question still from Michael, and I'm taking them as they come, and sorry if it's not in the right order. How much time do we need to devote to the assignments? The honest answer is it depends. Some of the assignments, and particularly the 3 first ones, are quite, I would say, limited in terms of time you would need to complete them, probably a couple of hours each. The third one, of course, or the fourth one, of course, which is the main assignments around designing a new innovative instrument, that is the one that would require more work. And this one will be done after the second week. So you have many days to, or even many weeks before you have to give that assignment back. But it's definitely will be many more hours. A question from Ayaka. Thanks, Ayaka, for joining. Is it open for master program student of the Graduate Institute? I think the honest answer is not really. Actually, we're more looking for professionals having many years of experience. We might have some exceptions if your own, depending on your own profile and what you did in your life, either before or aside the master. So I would still encourage you to apply, but as a general rule, this is really executive education training, and it is more for qualified, practitioners have many years of experience already. A question from Federico. Hi, Federico. Will participants be required to study before the 2 sessions in March and May? Not really. I mean, yes and no. There will be some readings that we will ask you to go through. Each of the participants, each of the speakers actually can decide a few readings that they think are important for you guys to read before joining their classes, but is limited amount of time. And most of the work will happen during the classes and between the 2 sessions, so between the March and May session. And also, of course, the last assignment will take place after the second session and should be submitted before the end of August. So that's how the timeline is organized. Another question from Najib. Hello, Najib. Does one need to be employed to join the certificate? Absolutely not. Everyone is welcome. We want to have a mix of professional experience. It doesn't mean that it has to be your current job. Unemployed people at that time are very welcome to join the program. A question from Carol. Hi, Carol. Nice to see you again on this different webinar. How many times have we run the program before? Well, that's just the second year actually. We started that program last year, and it was I have to say, a very successful first attempt in terms of quality and number of participants. We have also, of course, learned a lot from that first session, and I believe we have made some significant improvement into the second one. But that is the second time, and you'll see that is a highly valuable session, and I'm pretty confident of the quality of the learning you can make there. And another question from Carol, which is around the fact that this program would be suitable after a professional break. Absolutely, yes. This is a good way maybe to, rethink about your next career move, where you want to go next. And of course, you are as concerned as all of us with the state of the world, the environment, the social inequalities, and what to do to really do your part. Well, that's probably a very good program to learn the skills and be able to reorient your future career and make sure that SDG is becoming a large part of your daily activity as a professional, as a practitioner. Another question from Michael, a more practical question related to the installment. We are very flexible with the installment, so you don't have to pay everything in one shot. It could be, scheduled over a long period of time. So yeah, a lot of flexibility with regards to the installments. Question from Leah. Hi, Leah. Nice to meet you. Well, good question around whether it's a holistic or more, I would say, quantitative or practical financial analysis. It's actually both. Some of the assignments really have to address some more high-level transversal issues, because a lot around SDG has to do with transversality and our capacity to work outside of silos, but definitely some of the other classes will be more practical, and there you will need also to be able to go into a higher level of granularity and be able to address some of those topics in a more structured and organized way. So definitely we try to mix those two levels, which we believe are very important for you to be able to be comfortable with, because there is no way we can succeed by being either entirely holistic and only looking at issues from a very high level angle, from the helicopter view. But at the same time, there's also no way that we can succeed if we only work in silos and look at each of these issues independently with the other one. So definitely we will need to cover both. All right, that was quite an active session. Well, thanks a lot again for your time. I hope we have addressed most of your questions. Again, we'll be very happy to see you guys in Geneva at the beginning of March. If you still have taken thought or additional questions, please do not hesitate to contact us through email or telephone. You again have these details on the screen as I speak. And very much looking forward to seeing you soon. And in the meantime, have a very Merry Christmas and and a Happy New Year to all. Speak soon. Bye-bye.